Bonjour peeps. Hi, this is Neshi Locatz. Welcome to a very rainy Tuesday morning here in Toma, Wisconsin, up here at the Star Nations Academy, where I do my broadcasting from for the live streams. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page here at Facebook and to the daily live stream that I do here regarding the card draw, the energy that's important for us to know about today for our highest good, right? Yeah, it's a rainy day here. We had thunderstorms last night, which was kind of cool. I like thunderstorms, and especially when you're falling asleep to them, right? I do like that. And I gotta check on George. He's up here with me. He's like the wind. He moves and you don't hear him. Great. He's underneath the love seat. So it was, falling asleep to a thunderstorm. You could hear the rumbling off in the distance, and I had the windows open just a little bit. Not enough for the rain to come in, but enough to hear it. And it was nice. I like that. And it's still raining. So it's not a hard rain. It's kind of a gentle rain, but it's still pretty wet out there. And we so need it. We really do. We haven't had rain in probably 2 weeks, something like that. Yeah, my gardens are really, I think I'm just going to cut everything back and wait for fall to come. Yeah. Well, good morning, Rochelle. Howdy. It's sunny there, and 70 degrees. Aren't you a lucky duck? Hell, good morning, Elise and Mary Ann, if you're watching. And Stephanie's here with us. Good morning, Stephanie. Elisa, she loves thunderstorms too. And Rochelle said, probably the storms we may come your way. Yes. I live in the northwestern part of Wisconsin, about an hour of the Mississippi, 3.5 hours from the Twin Cities. And so the storms that we get here in Wisconsin eventually make it across the Lake Michigan, right? The big pond between Michigan and Wisconsin. And you guys, and I think, Rochelle, you're a little bit north, right, of Grand Rapids, if I remember right. So you might see these storms coming through. But yeah, it's so taking George out in the rain is an interesting experience. He likes the water, likes the puddles, not so much of the rain. And so that was an experience we had this morning. And wouldn't you know, I was going to bring him on camera and he fell asleep. I think he knows. Well, we'll give him a few minutes and maybe I should wake him up now. Might be easier. Rochelle's saying about an hour north. Yeah. Yeah. So you might see them. You might. I think I'm going to wake him up because he just literally just laid down to sleep so you guys can see him. He's growing quite a bit. Hang on. Georgie. Come here, baby. Oops. Come here, baby. Oh, you're getting a big boy. Yeah. You're getting to be such a big boy. Here's George. Let's see if we can get the camera down a little bit. There's Georgie. He's getting to be such a big boy. He's 9 weeks old now. He's my good boy, aren't you? Yeah, my good boy. Yeah. He can be such a lover, and with a couple bites in between. We're having a good time though, aren't we, George? Yeah, we are. He slept really well last night. Yeah. We had him in his kennel with the door open. And so I think he just gets too warm to be with us. Because we don't mind sleeping with him in bed. But I think he just gets too warm. And so we put him in his kennel and with the door open. And he stayed in there for a little while. And then he went out and laid on the floor where it's, I think, a little bit cooler. Yeah, so he slept really well last night. All right, let's see. Jackie is saying sunny and 81 in Grand Rapids. Oh my goodness. Canning with humidity hit. Oh yes. Yeah, that humidity took a toll on the hair, I'll tell you that. I had to use my flat iron this morning for it to look somewhat decent. Yeah. In canning, what are you canning, Jackie? Because I don't know if you read Star Nations magazine, in any version of it. the digital or the print. Patty Heredia, who is one of our contributing writers, has an article in the September issue. It's a 2-part series, and this is part 1. And she talks about, I think the title of it is Food for Your Soul, and how certain foods help us to stay healthy, right? And she also talks about how when we grow our own food, that the vibration of it, the frequency of it, matches what we need and fills that in for us. But there's a lot of us who don't garden for one reason or another. Sometimes it's where we live, right? If you live in an apartment, it's kind of hard to have a garden. And so she talks about how we purchase our food at like farmers markets or even grocery stores, and how we can adjust the frequency to match what we need. And it is a fascinating read. And she talks about canning, how to preserve our food. I think that was her. Carla Jo wrote an article too in her column about First Harvest and about canning and memories about doing that. So yeah, 'tis the season, right? Canning season, and all that heat and humidity. I can certainly understand why our ancestors had summer kitchens, that wasn't in the house. They had it like out in a garage or something, a different building, and to keep the heat and the humidity out there. Yeah, yeah. So Rochelle's saying, wow, he's so cute. Yes, he is. Jackie, I'm so sorry. She said, I just lost my chocolate lab. Love labs. This is our first experience with a lab. And George is a lab mix. He intentional mix with a golden retriever. And we've had golden retrievers before. Love that breed. Ow. Ow. And so the lab is a new breed to us. So we're learning about, and also learning his own personality, right? Yeah. When our old dog, Ginger, she was the golden retriever. When she was so curious, everything that we did, she wanted to know about. And she had a way of asking the questions, right? And so she would, I called it trilling. It was almost kind of like singing in a way for a dog. And so she would trill. And whenever she did that, I knew that she was wondering what I was doing, asking me about it. Well, George, he's a barker. And can you imagine a puppy bark, right? Kind of like high-pitched bark. And it's like one question after another, and he doesn't wait for the reply. And so I'm trying to show him the images of what I'm doing with my mind, showing him what I'm doing as fast as I can. And so it's like speed reading in a way. Oh my gosh. He has a lot of energy. All right. So, and hi, Margaret. Margaret's with us. Rochelle says, how much does a print version of the magazine? Well, it runs between $15 and $20 with the shipping. Okay. And basically you're paying, most of that is the print cost. We don't make a whole lot off the magazine in print form. And that's okay, because it's more important that we're getting the information out, right? And so what some people are doing, and I wish I could do it. If I had more help, I would do this. I would order like in a bulk rate and then send them out to you guys. But I have so much on my platter right now that I'm hoping maybe by spring of 2019, I'll have somebody on board that can help me with that. But in the meantime, if you guys want to kind of get together and form your own little group, order your print magazine from Magcast, and maybe, because I think Elisa's doing this with another person, is that they're sharing the cost, and so they share the magazine. It's kind of like book club in a way, and so you might want to check into that, because there's a lot of people in Michigan, right, that read the magazine, and if that cost is a little bit too much for you, I can understand that, but there's ways around it, right? There's ways to work with it. Yeah. Alyssa is still waiting for my hard copy to come. Well, it's print on demand. That's why it takes so long. It takes 7 to 10 days. I got mine yesterday. So Elise, you should be getting yours If you ordered it the same day that it was published, you should be receiving it any day now, because I just got mine yesterday. I was going to bring it up with me, but I kind of forgot. I was trying to remember to bring all this stuff with me. Oh, God. Oh, he's trying to get the cushion that's on this chair. Jackie's saying that she's canning tomatoes and then pickles, and then pesto and drying herbs. Wow. We're coming to your house for supper. Yeah, can you imagine that? Sometime in like November, December, maybe even January, to pull some of that stuff out and have some really good fresh food, right? That was canned. I love that. Yeah. Good morning, Margaret. Elisa's saying it's like $20 altogether, but it takes a while for it to come. I know, you have to have patience, and it is a virtue, right? Yeah, well, I'm used to it. I'm used to it now. When the day that I publish, which is the 10th every month, I publish, and then I go back to MagCloud and order my hard copy, and I also order the one for Elf Elm, because it's part of their how do I want to say this? Their layout. What they do is they take a look at the print copy, and they take a look at it and do their own critique on it to be able to make some adjustments on their own, right? And so that's just part of cost of doing business. And so I order 2 of them every month, one for myself, which my mother reads and my mother-in-law reads. And so there's 3 of us reading the print copy. Now, why would I read the print copy when I've already seen those articles like at least 6 to 8 times before we're published? I like looking at the magazine. I do it both in the digital and also the print. The digital is more like doing my own critique, right? And saying, oh, that looks really, really great. Ooh, we got to tweak that one, And the print copy is to read the articles in the magazine. So yeah, just because we print on the 10th doesn't mean I'm done with that copy, with that issue. And we start the new issue. They kind of overlap at that point. Margaret saying, driving line now. Okay, we might have some typos in here. She must be using her phone. Driving line now, Bud. We've always had dogs, but our latest one is an issue, so I don't know if we'll be with us much longer. Oh, that's too bad. That's too bad. But sometimes you have to make those hard decisions, huh? Yeah. Elise says it is a beautiful magazine. I think so. Okay, so Rochelle, have a good doctor's visit. Take care. And Margaret says, I like the digital one that I've gotten. Yeah. All right, so let's get to the card, okay? So the card today, and we're still using the Pathway to Healing deck by Brian L. Weiss, right? Okay. And this is the card today. I think we're on a theme this week. I am much greater than my body or my brain. I am much greater than my body or my brain. Backside says, you're not merely your physical self. To exist before I can't read this. There's too much of a glare. You existed before you came into your physical body, and you will exist after you leave your physical body. So what he's doing is he's talking about the soul. We got quite a glare going on this morning. I think it's because it's so dark out. So you're not merely your physical self. You existed before you came into your physical body, and you will exist after you leave your body. Yeah? That's kind of a profound statement, don't you think? And I think that when we make the decision to believe that we are spirit having a physical existence, You know, we've read it, we hear it, but until we actually take it in and turn it over a few times and feel it in our hearts, remember um, that we are a physical or a spiritual being, um, that's when it starts to be come into its fullness, I think. Because once we have that mental, um, the intellectual discussion about it, right, and it filters in, and at some point within our heart we have the memory, and when we realize that we have this memory of it, um, the world looks differently. Your soul contract um, takes on another facet. It's just not a thought or words or something that we discuss, but it's something that you are actually unfolding and becoming. Um, that our soul growth is really what we're all here, what it's all about, is to get back to that memory of love, and working our way back to the creator, right? What's that one meme about we're merely walking each other home? There's a lot to that one, don't you think? Um, and so my sisters are having a discussion this morning, and so there's a lot of texts coming in through my phone. It keeps I have it on vibrate, so it keeps vibrating. I wonder what's going on. So, yeah, so Margaret, you get the digital version of the magazine. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. We do our very, very best. What I tell the contributing writers when I thank them every month, and it's a heartfelt thank you, because they literally share their lives with us. They share their experiences and their heart. Um, so many of the articles are soul filled. Um, and when I send them an email after we publish, and letting them know that we have, and I send them a cover, the picture of the cover, and I thank them. I thank them, and I always let them know that I love I love walking the red road with them. Um, the good red road, right? Taking our gifts and our wisdom, our experiences, and taking them to our community, which is you guys. Um, yeah, it's a good one. I love doing the magazine. I love the creation of it. Um, and with this card, for those who are just joining, this is the card: is I am much greater than my body and my brain. And what Dr. Weiss is referring to here is our spirit, our soul. Our soul is ancient, even though you might be told, "Oh, you're a new soul. You're a brand new soul. You're a young soul." What does that really mean? you know, because chances are this isn't your first rodeo. You know, it might be your first time around the block here on planet Earth, but chances are that you've had a life someplace else, some other physical life somewhere else as well. And what we call our home planets, wherever that is, because we're all star seeds. That's my belief. And then there's those of us who've been to the Earth plane a few times and other planets, and we merely have more experience. I really There's no linear measurement to the existence of the soul. Oh, somebody write that down. That was pretty good. Thank you to my spiritual team who just gave that to me. It's more than the measurement, the linear measurement of our existence, right? It's our experience. It's the wisdom. It's the experience that our soul um, has collected over lifetimes that we call our wisdom. that's referred to us as an old soul. And let me tell you, new souls, younger souls, let's put it that way, sometimes they are the ones that are really exuberant, and they have a passion for life. They find everything fascinating, and almost like a puppy. I tell you what, George sees the world differently than we do, right? Because he's so young. He's just a baby. Um, and so they have that exuberance and the curiosity, and it is contagious, um, and to be around them, and to feel um, their exuberance, that sparkle. Old souls, old souls, we get cranky. It's like, okay, I said I didn't come back here to do what again? Oh my God. How do we get off this wheel? How do we stop this? We're done. And yet we came back here for a reason. And I do believe many of us that are here were at the fall of Atlantis, and possibly even at the demise of Lemuria. That we're back here to make different decisions, to see if we can have it play out differently this time. Um, and so being an old soul doesn't mean that we know everything, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have any more growth left. Hmm. And yes, we do get impatient. We get impatient with those new souls, these younger souls. We get impatient with just how Earth life evolves, and we have to wait. And I kind of get that feeling sometimes when I read or somebody sends me some information about science has now found this or that, and there's those of us who, let's say, okay, see if I can think of one. None are coming to mind except for, and I can't, and this isn't, okay, they just want me to say it, it's like Bigfoot, Yetis. Native people have always known them to be in existence. Indigenous people all across the world have stories about them. Science is the ones that refute it and say they don't exist. Why don't they exist? Because there's no evidence that they exist. And yet you have all of these oral traditional stories. Many indigenous people have songs about them, right? And yet there's going to come a time when science is going to say, hey, look what we found. And all of a sudden it's true because science found it to be true. And when I read those kinds of information, I think to myself, I'm happy because science is finally catching up to us, right? Yeah. So we're more than our physical body, more than our intellect. And when we remember, okay, because we're in this physical body though, right? This is our tool to experience this physical life as a spiritual being. If we didn't have this physical body, we wouldn't be experiencing this physical world this way. Think about our guides, our spiritual team, our spiritual family, as Carl Franklin calls them, is they're in spirit. They can help us. They can show us how it could be done whatever it is a little bit easier. They can give us information, right, to make our journey mean a little bit more sense to us. But they can't experience this. They can't do the work for us because they're not in a physical body. So my belief is that when we start uncovering and remembering what we already know at a soul level, that's where the soul growth is, right? And how do we do that? It is healing our emotional and mental traumas so we can clear that debris away, that interference away, and it uncovers aspects of our heart that where our memories lie of not just this lifetime, but other lifetimes where we gathered so much wisdom. Yeah. Hey, Mary Ellen's here. Good morning, Mary Ellen. And Elisa's saying, still think there should be an article about monarchs. There's something we can all do to bring them back. Well, that's true. Well, you know, start working on the topics list for 2019. There's no reason why we can't add that to the topics list. Elise, if you could help me with finding out what, I'm sure there's a month where butterflies, monarchs in particular, are celebrated, are, you know, that they're highlighted, right? There must be. So Elisa's saying, is that why one can be inspired to write something and have no idea where it came from? Yes. Yes. Okay, they're saying big yes. Big yes. Yes. It's when, I'll give you for an example, for instance. What was the time when, and I think I told you guys this story before. Paul and I have a friend, Milt. He was retiring from the military, from the National Guard, and we were going to, I think it was retirement, or maybe it was a promotion. I bet you I think it was a promotional party. Anyway, we were going to a party to celebrate Milt. And Paul hadn't gotten the gift yet and didn't know exactly what to get him. And so I'm sitting at work. I was working for the state of Wisconsin at the time. And lunchtime's rolling around. And I was going to go up and grab a little something at like a deli kind of area. You know, it was only like a block away. And I get my jacket on and I think, and I hear this, State Street. State Street? Huh. What's on State Street? Go to State Street. Now, to get to, I'm on East Washington, and I have to get up to State Street, which means it's on the other side of the Capitol. And so I cut through the Capitol. That's a shortcut. It cut off maybe 2 blocks at the most. And I'm walking up State Street, and there's this little store that I walked by before, but I never paid attention to it. And I felt like a pull, a draw there. Why do I have to go into the store? You know, they sell cigars. They don't, you know, there's, okay. So I go into the store and there's all kinds of humidifiers for cigars, a kind of neat place actually. And they had collectibles, mugs on a very high shelf. And I'm looking around and I'm talking to my spiritual team. Okay, what am I doing in here? You know, you have to show me. I only have so much time for lunch, so we got to get this done. If I need to do something, show me what it is so we can get it done. And I'm looking, and this clerk comes up to me and asks me if I needed help, and I said, yeah, I think I do, but I'm not sure exactly what. And I kept being drawn up to the mugs because there's some really interesting mugs up there. Steins, like beer steins, right? Yeah, they were beer steins. And at first I thought, well, maybe I'll get Paula Bierstein. And I thought, it's like, no, there's something here for Milt. And I saw this, it was white and red, and it's the colors of one of the units in the National Guard. And so I asked to see that one. And as soon as I got it in my hands, I could tell. It's like, this is for Milt. And so I bought it. They packaged it up. They wrapped it up. I took it back, called Paul. I said, I have Milt's gift. And he said, what'd you get him? I said, it's just Bierstein. Oh, it's okay. That's fine. And so we were actually going to the party from work there. And Milt unwraps the gift, and he gets all teary-eyed. And he's looking at Paul. He goes, where'd you find this? He goes, it wasn't me. It's Yvette who found it. And what it was a collectible mug. There were only so many made, obviously, collectible, right? And it was from a unit that Milt used to recruit for and years ago. And a lot of good friends came out of that unit for him. And at that time, they were first deployed to Desert Shield, I think it was. It wasn't, maybe it was Desert Storm. But anyway, it meant a great deal to Milt. Meant nothing to me. So you never know. You don't know why. But if you follow your intuition and say, okay, if this is something that I need to do or get, all right, let's see what this means. So it was more important for Milt, and more important that I listened to my intuition. Yeah. And so, all right. So, okay, Rochelle and Elise are having a discussion. You know what? I love watching that, seeing that pop up. Is that the community members here at Star Nations? Sometimes they have their own conversation in the chat, which is great. I think it's great. So, you're not merely your physical self. You existed before you came into your physical body, and you will exist after you leave your physical body. When I read that piece, what came to my mind was a memory, and a memory about the last funeral that I attended. And it was my aunt, one of my favorite aunt. And at her funeral, there was kind of a mix-up between belief systems, but it was really, to me, it was it showed me a lot. I learned a lot from that experience. Because there was this conglomeration of Ho-Chunk belief, Potawatomi belief, Christian belief, Lutheran belief. And so it was at the time, I think, very disconcerting for some of the family members, her children, right? But in the long run, my aunt was still teaching us a whole lot through that. And I realized that as Native people, we have much more intricate ceremonies when it comes to funerals, when people walk on, than we have for when we come into the world. When our spirit comes into this physical body, when we're born, right? It's not to say that we're not happy about it, the birth of a child, and the child does get a native name in a ceremony, but there's not a whole lot of ceremonies around the birth. Around the death, there is a lot of ceremony and a lot of tradition for 4 days, right? And I can only speak from my own tradition. Um, there's so much that goes into it. The meals, the pipe, the water, the songs. Um, I can remember when my grandparents passed away. There was a time in the old way of doing things is that you were awake from the time they passed away until the time they were buried. So you literally were awake for 3 days, 4 days, 4 days. On the fourth day, they're buried. And so you get to sleep on the fourth day. But for 3 nights, you're up. You're not sleeping. And there's to keep people awake, there's so many things that are done. Stories are told. Sometimes there's dice games going on. And I'm not saying the kind of dice that you guys are used to. It's a different kind of dice game. And so there's a lot of things that go along with that. And there's memories of the person who passed away, talking about them, and because we believe that they're right there with us, right? That for 4 days, that they're visiting people that they've known, that they love, going to places that they enjoyed being at physically. So they're literally traveling from place to place, and yeah. And on that fourth morning, and it's all about food too, because you have to eat before sundown. There's you have breakfast, you have lunch, and then you have supper, which has to be done before sundown. And supper is the one that has the most ceremony to it, right? And there's usually a lot of people there. But on that last morning, on the fourth morning, when the burial is going to happen, and this is the part, Ho-Chunk do this. This is the part that always brings tears to my eyes. And at dawn, there is a warrior, somebody who has seen battle, does a war cry for the person who walked on. And even talking about it, I get kind of verklempt. And that is to release the spirit, the soul of that person from the physical world, is to go home, telling them to go home, calling them home, sending them home. And for those who to help you understand that, it's kind of like a military funeral when they do the 21 gun salute and play taps. It's very similar to that. Very similar to that. And so if it's a man who passes away, there's a male warrior who does the war cry. If it's a female who passed away, then there's a female warrior does the war cry. And yeah, so we're so much more than our physical body. There's so much more that happens to return the physical body back to Grandmother Earth in those ceremonies. But the ceremonies is really for the spirit, and to send that spirit home. And so it's kind of like a big party, because you get this on the earthly side, on the physical side, and then on the spiritual, from those that are in our soul group, our ancestors, and those who have passed before us. They're welcoming us home, and there's another big celebration in spirit. And so when my dad walked on, I remember the morning. He passed away in the afternoon, but it was in the morning. I hadn't slept, and because I was pretty much there by myself. Paul was there. Paul had to go and do, I think he went and got my mom. I don't remember how that went. Anyway, I was across the hallway, and I was just going to take just even a 20-minute nap, right? And I was in there by myself, and I had just closed my eyes, and spirits talking to me, my spiritual team's talking to me, and I could hear them saying, "Oh, it's a jubilation, it's a jubilation," and there, as you could feel the happiness and the joy, and I'm going, "What are you guys talking about?" And they were explaining to me that that the party was being prepared for my dad, in spirit, that when they would come to get him, spirit family members who have crossed over already, the party preparations were being put in place. It's going to be a jubilation. And he crossed, I think it was 2-something, 2:10, 2:15, something like that afternoon. And so my mind, my memories went to that. And so thankful to my spiritual team that they shared that with me and shared the feelings about it with me, knowing that even though it was going to be sad on this side to say goodbye for a little while, and it's not even goodbye. We don't believe there isn't, in many indigenous languages, there's not a word for goodbye. Bama Mina, which I say to you guys every day, is as close to it in Potawatomi, it means until we see each other again, right? So it's sad on the physical side, but when the spirit is released and has broken the tether from the physical body, there's a party going on the other side, welcoming them home. That's, and I'm so grateful that my team showed me that. Had the feelings attached to it, so I could feel what the feelings were. And so there were so many people around me crying, it's not that I didn't have compassion for them, but in my mind, I was thinking, Dad, there's a party going on. Yeah. Now, it didn't mean that I didn't grieve, because I did. And in fact, this year was the first year that I, on the anniversary of his walking on, that I didn't have the memories of it, or the memories of the moments that led up to that last breath, right? Or when he took his last breath. This year was the first year it wasn't the first thing I thought of in the morning when I got up on September 4th. Yeah. So we're greater, much greater than our body or our brain. Yeah. Now look at the time. Almost time. Got to get going, because Polly Joe is going to come up next at noon Eastern time for her show, Chakra Sessions, where it's going to be all about setting healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Yeah. One last thing about the brain is in Egypt, when they do the ceremonies for to mummify the person's body, and they take the organs out, right? And they put the organs in really beautiful vessels. And when they take the brain out, because they don't break the skull, right? They would take this instrument, into the ear up through the nose, right? And they'd pull the brain out, literally scrambling it. And honestly, when I first read this, I said, really? But, the brain was not a highly prized organ. The heart was much more highly prized and revered. The brain was not. And so, in our heart, our heart is the one that expresses our soul through, right? Yeah. So I'll leave you with that thought. If you ever seen The Mummy, the movies, The Mummy, you might understand that a little bit better. Some of the things they did in that movie. So Tuesdays here at Star Nations is always a busy day, an exciting day, because we have usually a couple shows, at least live stream shows going on. And so this afternoon at noon is Polly Joe show, Chakra Sessions. And then my show, Communications from Home, will be later this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's about living your life through your heart, right? We just talked about that. And I have a guest, a good friend of mine, used to be a colleague. His name is James Morrison. He's going to be with me. We're going to be talking about what he teaches and what I used to teach. I'm no longer a certified teacher, but he still is, to Awakening an Illuminated Heart. And so, if join our shows. Polly Joe is going to be talking to us about boundaries. We all need healthy boundaries. You're welcome, Mary Ellen. And remember, anything that you heard today, that what you resonated with, hold on to it, grab it, embrace it. Watch how your day unfolds and how this information kind of appears to you, okay? And if it didn't, that's okay. No worries. Leave it lie. Pass it on. Maybe you're the messenger. Share the link with somebody. And enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the card draw information live stream. And until then, Bama Mina, until we see each other again. Love you guys.